Would it surprise you if I was to say SFAC believes in a role and future for children's homes in the care and protection of children around the world, when our mission and purpose is for more children to live in safe families? That might sound contradictory, and in this video I want to explain why we believe they coexist. I am Dan Hope, CEO of SFAC. So why do I say that children's homes have a future? We perhaps kind of say it in relation to the difference between the theoretical and the practical world. In a theoretical world, children would live with their biological or legal parent safely and thrive in their care. But we know that that doesn't always happen, whether it be abuse or neglect, abandonment or circumstance. Children cannot always live with their biological or legal parents. In the theoretical world, we then say they live with a member of their extended family, their kin, or with someone connected to their family, well known to their family, like a close friend. But we also know that that's not always available, and also might not always be safe for a child or appropriate. And so in the theoretical world we move towards foster carers, or maybe guardians or adoptive parents, all families who are trained and assessed to look after other people's children. But even with all those options, there is also a practical reality, for two reasons for why we think there is still a role and need for children's homes. First reason relates to whether we will ever have enough carers for children who cannot live within their own biological family. And the reality is we're probably never likely to have enough carers. And in particular, we're going to struggle to have enough carers for older children. As many people know, and parents of teenagers will probably agree and tell us, looking after older children can be even more complex than younger children. And that might leave us with a vulnerability for older children who, for whatever reasons, cannot live within their own family and require alternative care. And if we don't think about their needs, because we might have a lack of availability, we run the risk that those children either stay in unsafe places, or end up on the streets, or end up in large institutions which we know have detrimental impacts on their development, both in the present time, in their immediate years, and in their long-term future. So we want to mitigate that risk, and one of those is by having the availability of children's homes. So a second reason for why children's homes have a future in the care and protection of children is also what we regard as being the most important, and that is around children's needs. For example, think about a child who has been sexually abused and they're displaying sexualized behaviour to other children. They might be self-harming. They may be attempting suicide. They might be misusing drugs or alcohol and display aggressive behaviour. And this situation is not an uncommon one to experience. I myself have had many cases similar, and we get asked questions from organisations that contact us for advice around cases that have very much those kind of themes. And in some circumstances, we may find a foster carer who has the circumstances, the skills, the abilities and the support as well as the resilience to manage that situation. And it's highly likely that those are not going to be regularly found, because many carers may well have their own children. They may be going to work. They may live in communities where risks from some of those behaviours to other children in that community is very high, and may place the child or the carers or both at risk. And we have to ask other questions. Can we expect a foster carer to be awake 24/7 to prevent someone from running away or self-harming or attempting suicide? If the child is displaying aggressive behaviour, can we expect a carer to manage that? Are they able to safely manage that, both for themselves and for the child? Are there risks to other children, both in the house or in the community? And might those risks also be a risk to the child themselves from other children? And another question we have to ask is, can the child cope with a family? For some children who may have suffered significant abuse, a family might be a scary environment, and initially what they actually need is a one step removed, a place where they can feel safe and then receive support that makes them feel okay to then take the risk of going back into a family. And we also want to make sure that a placement is going to be stable, that it is going to work long term for a child. And if a child is placed within a family where the expectations of those carers are very high because the needs of the child are very high, and we don't equip or support that carer enough, or even with all of the training and support that we could put in place, it's going to be difficult for them to be able to meet the needs of the child, then one of the risks that can happen from that is that the child suffers from placement breakdown. And they might go from one placement to another, to another, to another. You know, I've heard of cases and had cases where children have moved 10, 20, 30 times with all of the emotional trauma that involves and brings with it, in terms of loss of relationships, the feeling responsible for the breakdown, the loss of any stability in their life. And we want to avoid that. So in some circumstances, children's needs require intensive support. And to provide that safely requires a children's home. And when we're talking about children's homes, we're not talking about large children's homes with a number of children and very few staff. We're talking about small children's homes that are specialist with highly trained staff. That might mean that there is one child, two children, three, maybe four children at the most that live in that children's home. It will mean that there are lots of staff, maybe two staff to one child, maybe even three. And the staff are not there 24/7, that they work on a shift basis, which might mean some staff working in the morning and some work in the afternoon and evening. It might mean some staff working one day and not the next, or 1 week and not the following week. And the reason for that is because we are working with children who need intensive support. You need rest. You need time to be able to recover yourself as someone providing that support and care. But we want that placement to be as short as possible. We want it to be a therapeutic place that helps create a sense of safety in the child, where they can then take risks to go back into a family where their needs are going to be less intensive, and therefore that placement is more likely to succeed. And when we talk as well about children's homes for children with high intensive needs, we tend to be talking more about children who are older, because we really want to be avoiding children's homes for very young children. really, ideally, between 0 to 11, those children should be able to be living in a family environment with foster carers who are highly trained and supported. But there can be some exceptions to that, because there may be some cases involving children from 8 years of age upwards who have suffered really horrendous past abuse, where the level of need may still be above that of what a carer can meet, or where we just don't have the available carers to meet that need. So SFAC supports the fact that children's homes have a role and a future. We believe that because the needs of children sometimes require it, but they are exceptions. And for the majority of children who need to live in alternative arrangements from their biological parent or legal parent, family, whether they're extended family or whether in foster care, is going to be an option that is in their best interests and can meet their needs. So when we're thinking about where a child lives when they require alternative care, we need to know the child. We need to know their needs. We need to know what options are available to us and what the advantages and disadvantages are of each of those options in meeting that individual child's needs. By doing that, we can reduce how many children might live in placements that are not suitable and appropriate for them. And the more likely it is that we provide children with the safety and stability that they require to be able to thrive. So this might have got you thinking and might have some questions and queries you want to clarify. And if you want to get in contact with us, our details will be in the description. And what I've said today is not new in SFAC's message. If you look at a video done by Mick, our founder, and a link will be here, then you'll see him talking about children's homes having a future 10 years ago. And while you're there, check out some of our other videos.